Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Plot Genie. Have you ever had a reader say, I loved your main characters, but I lived for that best friend? That's really the goal, right? Today, I'm showing you how to create a cast of characters that readers are going to absolutely fall in love with, the kind they ship, quote, and demand spinoffs for. No cardboard cutouts, no plot prop NPCs, just layered, lovable, unforgettable characters. For those of you that don't know me, hi, I'm Heather, and I help authors write addictive, bingeable fiction by building worlds and characters readers can't quit. If your side characters feel flat or your cast feels like a checklist, stick with me because by the end of the video, you're going to have a blueprint for building a dynamic, engaging cast that makes every book feel like coming home. So, the first thing that I really want you to think about is treat every character like a protagonist. I know that's a little bit cheesy, but it's really true. A mistake I see a lot is that the story revolves only around the main character and everyone else just exists for that main character. That is a fast track to forgettable, boring because everyone is living for your characters. I tell this to romance authors all the time, especially clients, but your antagonist in a romance oftentimes is the other love interest because they are the obstacles that keep getting in your way, right? The same can be true for your side characters. You need to make sure that each side character, I mean, they're all the protagonists in their own story. So, how can we fix this? Give each major side character their own goal. You could have two roommates, and your main protagonist, wants to be a medic, but her best friend maybe wants to be a professor and wants to bang the hot guy that keeps sending her flowers. I don't know. You can give them a flaw or a secret and make them have a life outside of the main plot. Some things to ask yourself: what do they want in this scene? What would they be doing if the main character wasn't there? Even if they're only in a few chapters, your side character should feel like they have lives off the page. So, another thing to really think about is to build cast contrast. We don't want the same version of the protagonist or even the best friend in multiple characters. A good cast essentially works like a color palette. You don't want every character to be the same shade. So think in contrast: introverts versus extroverts, optimists versus cynics, rule follower versus chaos goblin, a stoic protector, and a sunshine ray of like, ooh, love is real and love is true, and I'm going to go frolic in the flowers, right? Bonus tip: use character archetypes to get started and then twist them. Okay, so maybe the best friend becomes the wild card or the mentor becomes the love interest. That's just me. Comic relief, but is really hiding some really, sad secrets. Contrast is the chemistry, right? Whether it's romantic, platonic, or chaotic, make your cast play off of each other. The third step is give them a role in the hero's arc. So side characters shouldn't just get along, they should actively challenge or change the protagonist. There needs to be a reason they exist, and it's not just to make the protagonist look stronger or prettier or whatever. Some things that you should ask yourself: who helps the hero grow? Who challenges their flaw? And who represents who the hero could become or avoid becoming, right? So we can cast the roles like this: the mirror reflects the hero's flaws back at them. The contrast chooses the opposing path, right? The catalyst forces change or conflict. The anchor, it grounds the hero emotionally. The best side characters feel essential, like the story wouldn't work without them. And again, they're not just parroting the things that the hero wants to hear, they're giving different viewpoints of what is actually happening, what's going on. So, step 4, you want to sprinkle in quirks and emotional depth. Let's be honest, readers fall for the vibe as much as the arc, okay? Some things that you can add to make sure that your story and your cast have these vibes: potentially a verbal tick, a weird hobby, bold fashion choices. a tragic backstory or a hidden fear, a contradiction, maybe a grumpy dog lover, a cheerful mortician, that sort of thing. So here are a few examples. He's the bodyguard who never smiles except when feeding stray cats behind the diner. Or she bakes when she's anxious, which is why the entire freezer is full of cupcakes labeled "Do Not Eat, Emotional Breakdown" batch. Readers don't remember stats, they remember personality. So make your characters unforgettable, but also relatable. And then step 5, let them steal the scene every now and then. Give your supporting cast moments to shine. Let them deliver a killer line. Let them win an argument. Let them mess things up in the most lovable ways. Write a scene from their point of view, even if it won't go in the book. It forces you to step into their head and flesh them out. So characters that feel real don't wait for the spotlight. They kick the door down and make the readers care. So the sixth step is to tie the characters to the subplots. So use your side characters to enrich the world and widen your emotional range. So some ideas are, a romantic subplot for the best friend, a redemption arc for the rival, a mentor facing their own decline, a sibling with a secret relationship. Side characters don't just support the plot, they expand it. They add humor, drama, tension, and heart. And really quickly, I want to go into, I just want to give you an example of my cast of characters, especially if you're writing something that kind of expects it, which is cozy mystery. And so in my Dominion Point Academy series, which is cozy mystery meets paranormal academy, my main character, if I had to describe her, I would say she's an Enneagram 3. So she's very determined, disciplined, she's ambitious. And I wanted to surround her with people who kind of have that contradictory thing. So we have Celeste, and Celeste is very, very rich, very, very pretty. And I think that we've all been conditioned to think, oh, she's pretty and she's rich, which means she has to be a bitch. But actually, she's Paige's best friend. And I did that intentionally because I wanted to sort of flip the script on that sort of stereotype, right? And then Sarah is part of that best friend dynamic. There are 3 of them. And Sarah is very feisty. She's like, act first, think later. Paige is the strategist, right? So she's going to do a lot of thinking, but she's going to feel like helpless and she doesn't like that feeling. And so her mentor slash love interest slash professor is sort of the one that kind of grounds her, right? He's kind of like, you have to let these people do their jobs. And but it's when he goes out of his way to train her, to teach her. He wouldn't do that if he didn't see that potential. And he kind of reminds her of that as well. And so you have these different viewpoints, right? And so I actually did the exercise of writing sort of a scene from Celeste's point of view because she and one of the characters has a relationship. And it very much mirrors Paige's relationship with her mentor, right? And so it's sort of like, I remember one of the ideas that I have, and I don't know if this is spoiler because this would be in a very future book, but Celeste is going to fall in love with sort of like the it superhero. Like if you could imagine, like if we had to compare this to DC, it would be like her being with Superman, but she's not Lois Lane. She is not that gung ho, go get him, confident journalist. She is still like in her early 20s. She has a lot of insecurities because there are a lot of, her parents. She's actually very opposite of Paige. Paige has superhero parents who are legacies. They've died, but they're legacies. And so Paige is expected to also have the superpower. Now, Celeste's parents don't have any superpowers, but they are very much involved in this world because they donate a lot to it. It's almost kind of like they want to be part of the world so badly, but can't. But their daughter is part of this world. And so it's sort of like Celeste also feels like she has to prove herself for a very different reason than Paige does. Celeste feels like she has to prove herself because she doesn't want people to just assume, oh, my parents threw money at it and I was able to get it. It's like, no, she worked hard for it and she was able to do that, right? And so the mirroring that Celeste and Paige are able to do with each other. Paige learns a lot from Celeste, but Celeste learns a lot from Paige, and they do it because when Celeste falls for her mentor, it's going to happen before Paige does, right? And it's sort of like she's trying to figure everything out. She's trying to keep these secrets from her friends, and then it comes out. And one of the ideas that I had is is when Paige finally gets with that love interest, and it's maybe a few months into it, I want Celeste to potentially think that she's pregnant, and not to make this some kind of drama or anything, but to force Paige to be like, what do I want from the relationship that I have right now? If I were in Celeste's position where we've only been together for a certain amount of time and something serious happens, what am I going to want? How am I going to want this person to react to me? And so it's kind of like there's this mirroring of we're kind of going through the same thing, but it's a little bit different as well. And so when you think of your cast of characters, you want them to be in situations where your main character is going to agree or disagree. You want them to be able to, like I said before, challenge their perceptions or help shape their perceptions. And that's what, Paige's love interest does, is he challenges her a lot and he teaches her a lot. Paige comes in knowing that she doesn't know a lot about this world, but also having these preconceived notions of what it means to actually be helpful and useful within this superhero kind of frame. And Paige realizes, like, no, just because I don't have these powers doesn't mean I'm not helpful or I'm not valuable. But it takes her love interest to kind of push her into it. He's not going to hold her hand, he's not going to coddle her. Then we have her grandma, who is very supportive, but she's like the chain smoking, whiskey drinking at 10 a.m., doesn't know how to cook, but will burn toast, kind of sassy pants. And she'll kind of straighten Paige up too. Like if Paige is like feeling sorry for herself, she's gonna be like, get your head out of your butt and like go figure it out. Like, you are strong. We're not gonna sit around and cry about this. And so I think that the reason I surrounded her with these characters is because part of me wants to let Paige, be sad and mope and feel sorry for herself, but I don't want to turn her into a victim either. And so she needs those characters to kind of like get her into gear. She also needs the characters to pull her back when she's being too reckless and to kind of call her out on her own shit. Like, just because she can go and solve a crime, she needs to be reminded, hey, you do not have a dominion. You do not have a superpower. You cannot go and act reckless. And she needs to hear that. Like, she can't be arrogant enough to think, oh, well, just because I'm smart, right? I can just go and get away with things. So again, if you watched my last few videos, I kind of go on these tangents, but I just want to show you in real time, like, how I'm doing that with my own cast of characters. And that's really, really important to me, because it's really important that my characters, again, have a life outside of it. And actually, one of my plans, which I won't go into, is part of the friendship between the three fractures. Like, something major happens, and for a few books, it's going to be really tense between the three of them. And again, it's that learning process. It's that we're challenging perceptions. It's now we're put into a situation of, now what do I do because this person went and did that, and it feels like a betrayal kind of thing. And I want to make it realistic, but I also want to make it intentional, in that not only how is this shaping Paige, but how does this affect the plot? How does this affect the story? And can I mirror that as well to really emphasize the theme of this particular book? Yeah, we're just talking about cozies. We're just talking about like one mystery, but at the same time, like, your readers are going to care about these characters. And if we can emphasize it and we can go into these layers through the usage of these side characters, that's what's really important, at least in my opinion. And that's why I wanted to do this video. But it's also why I really take a lot of time into thinking, and I didn't used to. And you can tell, like, if you go back and you check out like maybe my early um Slapshot series, it's like, I love that series. It did so much for me. It taught me so much, but I could have done so much with the side characters who wound up having their own books kind of thing. And that's what's really, really important is fleshing them out and making them real people and with real wants. Right now I'm writing kind of like this cozy urban fantasy, I like to call it. And it's going to be like another slow burn, but it's going to be best friend's older brother. And I've never really done one of those before. And so that's why it was really, really important for me to make sure that I really developed the relationship between my protagonist and her best friend, because that's going to add to the stakes of when she starts to fall for that older brother. It could really damage the friendship that she has. And and the other side characters as well, like they have a group. But anyway, so side characters aren't just there to support your main character. They're not just there to sort of be these NPCs that kind of like nod and go along with what your protagonist is doing. They're there to challenge as well, but they're also there to support, they're there to mirror, they're there to anchor, all of those things. And so when you are creating your cast of characters, I would just keep all of those things in mind, because it's really going to enrich your series, your story, whatever you're planning. So I hope that helps. If you want your books to stick with readers, don't just write the strong leads. Build a cast they're going to miss when the book or the series ends. Give them contrast, purpose, and quirks, emotional hooks, those sort of things, and watch them steal the show. And if you're really interested in at least the plot of what you want the characters to actually do, grab my Plot Like a Pro workbook. It's completely free. It doesn't matter if you're a plotter or a pantser. I'm just here to introduce you to structure and teach you how you can adapt this structure to whatever process works best for you. So please comment below which side character from a book totally stole your heart. Really quick, I'll just tell you mine. It's not from a book, but I think about these characters even now. Is if you've ever seen What Happens in Vegas with Ashton Kutcher and Cameron Diaz, the two side characters, like for me, I'm more interested, like I want to see them get together. I want to see a movie with them even more than I did with Ashton Kutcher and Cameron Diaz. Like I love them so much. But anyway, what about you? Let me know. Subscribe for weekly writing videos that help you plan, write, and sell unforgettable fiction without burnout or overwhelm. It was really nice to hang out with you guys. I will talk to you soon. All right, take care.